Hello, hello. Um, Once again, the stream continues. The stream must go on. And during the last episode, I decided that some of this code was, well, it wasn't that great. Um, so yeah, I wanted to change it a bit, at least. I mean, the whole thing of setting the UI state um, on the last frame object, well, I don't like that. So we will start out by setting the current state to default and instead set this to button clicked. And if we have a release, we set the current state as the default state. Since we want to reset it, this means that from a default state, we can enter a clicked state. Well, maybe we do want the state to carry over. So we start out by setting the last state since we do not want to reset it between frames. Well, yeah. This might not mean making a difference. Cache the last state button was in. I know this is somewhat the same, but it makes more sense inside a loop like this to actually set the current state. Even though it's the same, it's just easier to read. And it's allocated on the stack, so it probably won't matter too much. Callback, callback, callback. Yeah, okay. It works. This means that if we have several objects, let's try that. Let's try that. And let's see what happens. Test button, callback, callback. Test button, callback 2. And it doesn't work if I release on the other button, but it works if I release on the button itself. So it's able to discriminate whatever we do. Let's see if I build a text. I could build the size in pixels actually. Yeah, I could do that. Meaning that this would not need to be handled like that. Yeah, we could do something about that. Anyway, it was a minor adjustment, but I think I'd like to do it like that. Let's see. Does our UI also? I actually want to change the naming of this, since it bothers me that you end up typing the namespace, which is UI, and then another UI, and suddenly you have a series of uh, pieces of text that kind of obfuscates what we're actually doing. So I'll call it UI system instead, and then I of course have to update all this. This should be fine, but we of course need to change the class text. Great stuff. I think that looks a bit better. Now we can simply, if we're using namespace, we will, yeah. I guess the other way around isn't too bad, but once we do UI and then the namespace part, it does look a bit better, I think. It does look a bit better. Okay. I think also that I'll swap these. Let's do them const as well. And let's change the begin context. Now I'm allowed to, wait a minute. Whoa, well, of course no default parameters here. Uh, okay. Yeah, we swapped the parameters here. Um, we could do like this. Okay. Also, I would like in the UI building algorithm, we would perhaps like something like a primitive to underlie our button, and if we simply tell the system that we want something that is let's see, is it a float 4? Yeah, it's G float 4. Background. Let's do a almost black background. And we add that to our primitives. And let's see how that looks. Well, nothing gets rendered. Do we do any? Um, yeah, maybe it's related to the blending stuff. Let's do it as a not red, I think a green square somewhere. And let's reduce the x and the y by maybe 10. And we will probably, yeah, so it gets rendered like that in that order. Let me see if I do this last, what will happen? Well, so whatever we specify to draw first, or rather fill in the buffer first, will get drawn last. Right now I think I need to play around with the blending stuff and maybe do clipping instead, but excuse me. Yeah, I'll fix that. Is that actually our button area? Let's see. Well, am I doing this? No. This should be the corner of the text. Let me see. Callback 2, callback 2, callback 2, callback. Okay. It is actually the area of the button. Time 3, for instance. Yeah, we need to do height and width calculations dynamically, but let's do that and then repeat it with, let's see, +1, +1, -1, -1, and we do change the background here to something like this. Let's try that. Okay, and let's swap the order. Let's see. It's almost like we have some sort of border now. Almost. Yeah, it definitely looks more like a border. Mm. Let's do a bit less of a height. Well, of course, yeah, we need to calculate the border because let's do a margin here. Border margin equals to 1. So the x is going to be plus the border margin. And the width is going to be minus 2 times the border margin. And the height is going to be the same. And let's do a bit of a context margin. Maybe 2. plus context margin. Yeah, so the buttons are a bit indented. Let's see. Let's do. Oh well, whoops. I kind of like. Let's do a temporary high factor. Let's increase the border margin a bit here. Maybe this is not the correct height actually. Maybe we want some spacing as well. Yeah, we do some context object count times context margin, of course. Some spacing in between. There we go. It's not looking great yet. Yeah, I think we need to maybe set this to 30 for now. All right, almost. Context margin, let's do 4. Just so we can get some proper separation. Let's see. Okay, it recognizes that this is not part of the button, but it thinks that this is. Okay. Well, the text is not centered. This is the almost black one. For some reason that changed. Oh, it's the width. Let me see. Maybe let's set it to 5, and this will be 2 times. I think that you start at an offset by the border margin, meaning that it's already one border margin too large. Then you subtract one border margin, and it's correct, but Let's try that in Paint. And then you offset by the border margin. Let's try transparent selection here. Let's do hello. So if we offset by the margin, then we are too large in terms of. Huh. Well, that sucks. I don't know why YouTube doesn't do that then. Maybe it's 3 times the margin. Because we already. Yeah, that looks more correct. Oh, we really need the dynamic sizing. And of course some text centering. Yeah, but as in it's got a terminal disease or something. Okay. Let's do some basic settings here. Context margin, float, border margin. Okay, and let's just dump these here. Oops. So we get rid of our context margin here. Oh, I actually, no. Thank you. At least it's a beginning. I used to do, um, what do you call it, web pages. So, uh, I mean, like front end design and stuff like that. It takes a lot to make me satisfied. But anyway, it's a start, and it's quite all right. That it's not extremely great looking. Let's see. Let's remove that. Yeah, yeah, sure. I'll definitely do something like styling uh, later on. Right now, I'm just working with getting the UI up and running, and I wanted to create a border around the buttons. And we need, of course, to actually, this is supposed to be Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. Maybe we should factor this by 2. It's the horizontal positioning, the context margin. We do that either way. For the first object, we don't do anything, then we add 2. Yeah, I think this is fine. Let's set it to it up here. Okay. So things we need to do in terms of functionality, in terms of actually drawing the stuff. We need to do dynamic text calculation, size calculation, that is. And dynamic context size calculation or trimming. Trimming meaning nothing outside of the context gets drawn. That's to do. I would like to be able to drag contexts function. So I would like for me to be able to drag this context around whenever I click it. We could do that, try to do that at least. Okay. The problem is though that we kinda I think we need double buffering again. Begin frame sets the current context. And these get called because yeah, we will actually end up this is a poor design. Proper design as we go along. Manual memory allocation. So we avoid the constant heap allocations. Because this effectively makes us recreate our buffers every frame. We would rather do something like allocate a buffer, for instance, a current frame UI map of a certain size, then store it on the heap, then yeah, maybe it's only possible with vectors anyway. We would like to be able to not having to swap everything every frame. It should just stick in the same memory location and if it needs a resize, we resize the buffer, but otherwise we just stick to the same allocation for the whole runtime instead of deallocating, allocating, deallocating, allocating over and over for each frame. That's possibly way too slow. I don't know, maybe maybe I have to advertise a stream, like plan a stream and then let YouTube know that I have a stream planned, and then it will send notifications. I don't know. Maybe I simply shouldn't just jump into the stream. I can look into that. Well, that's weird. So, right now we clear our contexts every frame. And maybe we want, well, maybe we want a context header that we can click on, sort of like a button, but with a specific callback. So that, for instance, up here there would be a title of sorts that that had that had some sort of text that we could click and then drag the whole context on. Yeah, I think that's probably a bit easier. Let me just adjust this. It looks horrible the other way. And I should do hot reloading every time I do that. All right, let's do increase the size of that, and then maybe we want to, whenever we call begin context, we want a title for it. Yeah. I think that's probably a way to, it is a way to do it, but if it's the way to do it, I don't know. The problem is that this would need to get overwritten because, yeah, I would have to track contexts anyway. Because how would I know that when I hardcode this into our update step, that we want to change the at least the X and Y position as we drag the context along. Huh. Maybe draggable windows are kind of like, no. It's it's not that much of a hassle to implement, I think, but it of course adds some different cases that we need to handle. Yeah, maybe if we cache the contexts. The problem is that we would have no reference. Um, yeah, I thought about it, but I think that copyright issues are something that I worry a bit about. I only have a few original tracks on my computer that I have the rights to use. And it would be somewhat tiresome playing the same track over and over. Yeah, that's true. I do sometimes listen to music while I stream. Yeah, but I haven't really solved the whole copyright stuff yet. Okay, so if I add a button to each context, I mean, like I'm GUI. Does it something like this? For instance, the window has a kind of like a header. I'll just have to talk almost constantly then. Maybe I could add some waiting music whenever I start thinking too much. Like elevator waiting music or something. Do we have something like royalty free elevator music? Uh, no copyright song. Pixabay, I think, isn't that I think Pixabay is without copyright. Royalty free. Let's see, do they have a filter where we can check the license? Advertising. Let's try this one. How do you like that? Maybe it's a bit loud. Let me just change the settings. So whenever I start thinking too much, just turn this up. Well, if you do copyrighted music, you'd risk getting copyright striked, meaning that future videos can't earn ad revenue or anything else. But yeah, right now I'm not making any money anyway. But and this is royalty free, it seems. So at least Pixabay is a place where I usually find some stock images. No, I'll try not to. Content ID. Maybe this is copyrighted. I think it's because I use Restream for double streaming. I haven't tried out another method. There's another plugin for OBS where you can do simultaneous. Okay, I think I need to add this track actually now because it has a content ID. So let me add this to the title of the stream. Just a second. It's probably not copyrighted per se, but just for good measure. All right. Yeah, exactly. I'm streaming both on YouTube and Twitch. So, yeah, you could do it through a plugin, but I used to have worse internet connection, so I used Restream. But yeah, I don't actually need to use Restream anymore. I'm just worried that the plugin that you can use to do simultaneous Twitch and YouTube might draw more CPU usage or use the CPU more. I don't have a problem with the bandwidth anymore. I think I could stream at how many sites I'd like, but yeah, I'll have to play a bit around with it in the future. Maybe I'll try it out when I do the tutorial stream. Anyway, where was I? Let's see. Let me try this one. I don't think it needs to be referenced. Okay, I'm getting distracted. Anyway, so yeah, if I draw the context, and as we can see, oh, I'm GUI uses a scroll bar. Um, mm, let's see. So yeah, they do something like that. It looks pretty neat. And then you can do trees of stuff. And you can actually close windows. Yeah, a lot of games probably use GUI. At least in their developer mode. That's great, man. Well, as I've mentioned, I prefer YouTube since the YouTube channel is a bit bigger, and I also do other stuff on the YouTube channel. But yeah, I think Twitch is probably nah. Lately, the YouTube stream has been more visited than the Twitch stream, I think. Anyway, so we could collapse a window. Well, if we kind of like imagined Yeah, okay. All right, I'm kind of like, doesn't it show? Could you please try again? Because I didn't see any messages and the auto mod didn't do anything. I mean, if I try typing something, it should show. Did I? How many times have you tried typing something? Because on Twitch I didn't get any message in the chat itself. And I don't think the moderator disabled your message. Well, that's weird. Nothing kind of like registers in the chat, I think. I don't know if you need to, let's see. Yeah, for some reason it doesn't. For some reason it doesn't show. I don't know why. Okay, we built a window. Okay. Let's try adding a text to the context whenever we create it. Let's just try that for now. Start or basic window. And then we do a button call with our text. Well, this won't work either because we will actually be using a separate callback here. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have to verify your account or something. Maybe it just takes some time before it allows you to post messages. I don't know. Maybe it's a security feature of sorts to prevent bots or spammers. Okay, so if you let's see our context. Hmm. We could do something like a window state, like a enum class UI window state, where we do default, minimized, maximized. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, buddy. We could use that to control whether to draw different stuff. for instance, if context, okay, I didn't, whoops, Windows state. Maybe I should call it Windows instead of context. UI window, and let's do a begin window, maybe register window. And then do a window state. Well, I actually don't just think that we need a minimized and maximized state. Maybe minimized is the standard. We could do that. Okay. Register window, let's see. UI window, I think. We need to, let me close that. Didn't I call it UI window? I did. But the first one, of course, needs to be a UI window state minimized. Next we do UI window. Did I pre-declare them? Yeah, I do. UI window. Windows. Alright, and in our application here, we need to change this. Okay. Does everything compile after the changes? Yeah. And then, okay. If the context dot, or not dot, window state equals UI window state maximized, we draw whatever we need to draw. Let me see. I think I might have. Yeah, I need to do it like this. All right, great stuff. So now we can change whether stuff gets drawn by minimizing and maximizing stuff. We could also do something like a object type, like a header, window header, and then allow us to draw the type if it's a UI type window header. So now when we register a window, we can do a private function because we should not call this outside our UI framework window header. Let's implement that. We pass on the window header. We close that. Inside our button, we copy some of the code here. It's not going to return anything. Therefore, we delete that. We delete that. Maybe we want to store the title as well. Anyway, let's disable some of this for now. Our title will be the text. Let's try that. And let's do a window header. Great stuff. We haven't implemented the actual drawing of a window header, but yeah, we will do that. We could do, this is the button. We could do a bit of collapsing here. Okay. We built something like a button inside the window header. Basic window. Let's see, do we have access to our context? I think we do. Let's do width and height equal to the context width and height. No, not width, at least the width. And we of course need to subtract 2 times the context margin. Actually, I think 3 times the context margin. There we go. It looks a bit better. Let me see, how does it do it? It kind of like does like that. I really hate that font. Why did my viewers decide I needed to use Comic Sans? I think it's okay if we do a vote on it in the future. Whether to change it. It really, really isn't that nice. Let's see. Anyway, let's see. We would have to do some adjustments here. Let's do a black. Oh, that's a white header. And this is the window header, right? Well, for some reason, let me see. It doesn't register. Button buffer. Let's do it minimized. So the basic Windows stuff. Let's increase the width a bit. Right now I will have a hard time implementing different primitives because I need to build on the collision and bounding volume system before that is possible. Yeah, but in theory I could. It just takes more work. Let me see if I disable this and simply draw the. Doesn't the text builder use the color at all? Oh, no, it doesn't. That is why. I found a bug. There we go. There we go. That's better. And we of course need to center the text. A bit. We could subtract something. Yeah, we could calculate it dynamically if we wanted to. Also, I think that I will expand upon this algorithm so that scaling factor can be specified outside the method. Let's see. Let's specify it. Const float scaling, which will be 1.5f. And we jump back to our method here where we specified, and then we simply delete the scaling here. Nothing will change, but this allows us to scale our text a bit. Let's close that. Let's say that we want a scaling factor of 1. Basic window. Maybe 1.2. Yeah, and then context margin, border margin. Yeah, we definitely need to add that to the text. Maybe even 2 times the. Let me swap to debug mode so I can do hot reloading instead of rebuilding every time. Basic window. And if we do, let's see, add a bit to the Y component here, maybe just add the border margin. Yeah, it should be dynamically created, but yeah, that looks better. It's almost centered now. We will have to redo it whenever the maybe actually 3 is not the right number. Maybe 4 times is better. Maybe 4 times is better. Yeah, the border looks better now, right? We also need to do it for the height. Yeah. It's because the margin is applied to every side, meaning I think so at least. Anyway, this looks all right. Um, when we draw the context here, when it's minimized, we if the window Windows state is equal to UI minimized. We set the height to a, for now, hard-coded number, which is 35. Whoops. It's not the width, it's the height. Huh. I do something wrong here. Build primitive. Width. Yeah, okay. Window width. I swapped the wrong one. And the height. Okay. For some reason. Maybe it's 70. $80. 85, 90. Well, I'd have to look into how that gets calculated. Anyway. Oh, it's because we scale it by the height factor. And we add the margins. At least we scale it, I mean. Oh yeah, we add the margins in terms of the X position. We added there. And we added at least twice there. Okay. So our window is now minimized. If we maximize it, what happens? We get our window. Okay. Great stuff. Then we want yeah, I think I need a different system for this. I think I need a different system for this, but we'll change it later on. I don't think I shouldn't use maps. I think they're too slow. I think they're too slow. We could do the bool activate if we had activate current context Windows. It's not really supposed to be called see. UI state minimized. If it's equal to that, we set it to maximized. Otherwise, we set it to minimized. So we simply swap the state. Okay, that doesn't really. If we do everything else than this, and let's see. Called window header. Yeah, nothing else. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. This one is always one higher. Mm, let's try. One, one, and so. And let's swap these then. Well, I know why. It's because we clear the window states. Yeah. Mm, let's see. Um, So if we want to save the window states between frames, we could do something like this. Last frame windows, and then the save state thing. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Begin frame. Don't I have a function where I save the state? Maybe I don't. I mean, oh, it's the input system. I'm kind of like confusing them. Do I do it inside the build rendering data? I think I do. Last frame windows. Let's move the let's do that instead. Let's do maybe M windows reserve, M last frame windows size. This might at least speed it up a bit. Uh, oh, of course I need to initialize it. Okay. Let's do a lookup on the last frame windows with our context and set our context, even though it's a window, to the previous frame state. Okay. 0. Maybe it's 0. It's 1. Oh, thank you, man. And welcome back. It's fine. You just do whatever you need to do. Let's see. We of course need to do this check before we can do anything, because otherwise we might try to grab something that is all right. Now we have basic window minimization and maximization. Next thing is to implement something like, if the X position is different from the last frame, X position, we use the maybe I don't want to do this in terms excuse me. Processing, yeah, maybe it's fine. We simply overwrite the X position from the last frame. We do the same thing with the Y. The width and height shouldn't change much. Okay, if we now thank you. I'll do a break in maybe an hour or something. Then I have to go do something else, I think. Let me just check. Oh, okay, I have plenty of time today. Yeah, but I'll probably do a break. Well, not not yeah, soon. That's what I'm trying to say. We could do something like a double flag here. Where we set the drag flag to true, and once we release the button, we set it to false. I like games like Factorio. Right now I'm playing Vampire Survivors. I used to play some Satisfactory, a bit of Doom. Yeah. Back in the day I did a lot of League of Legends, but yeah, I don't do that anymore. How about you? No, I never played Roblox. Do you? Oh, how do you like it? Let's do a tracking of the mouse position outside this uh, scope here. We simply update the window. Let's see, current context. Yeah, how do you like it? This will be janky, but it might work. Yeah. It's really janky. Okay. If the release position is it's starting to get better. And yeah, have you ever well, what interests you when you play games? Let's see. Drag will be set to true. Um so now I can click, whoops. That's not working as intended. Okay. Okay, maybe we don't need to set the flag drag there. Maybe we only do it. Oh my god, would you look at that? Yeah, anything in particular you find fun? I mean, is it base building, RPG elements, or shooter games? Yeah. Which one has been your favorite so far? All right. Back in the day, I did. I used to play 1.6 a lot. I only did a bit of Source and maybe I did play CS:GO for a while, but yeah, I'm not really good at it. But I do like it. It's quite chill. All right. I'm an old man. That's just how it goes. So, yeah, let's do uh let's do what should we call this window? Tools. And well, let's try adding a funny little callback here. Close application, and we simply set the M is running to false. Whoops. Okay, this kind of messed up everything. Why did that not work? I mean, and what do I have to change? Maybe. Ah, I know why now. I know why. I know the bug. It's because the header doesn't have priority when we create the render data. So it's because we changed the title, and yeah, now it's last on the item stack during the build of the render data. As you can see here, this simply iterates over them, and since it's a map, they are stored uh, in relation to their key, which is their name and which is their text. So yeah, it will get drawn last. We have to change this then. It won't scale with the object count, since it will always be object 0. And we will simply do like that. We will increment this by 1. And also this by 1. Also, this should be increased by 1. Um, how to draw them? I'm unsure what you exactly mean, because I simply tell the renderer that I want to draw something. I can show you how the information is transferred to the graphics card. All right, so now our tool stuff here is the first one. We need to fix up the rest here. Well, maybe I don't want to offset it. Well, no. You have to program uh, the pipeline to do it. Let's see. So we add one to our object count. Let's see the button type here, the text type. But all kinds of rendering is basically binding a pipeline, upload, or either set the data entry point and then uh, uh, use the shader program to make a draw call. It's basically that for everything that you want to draw, but I can show you in a minute. No. I've built everything from scratch in terms of drawing text and primitives, and it's all done in DirectX 12. DirectX 12 is drawing everything you see on the screen, including the text and the UI. If I did the UI in Win32, let me show you Win32 buttons, Windows. It would look something like this. This is Win32. This is also a Win32, maybe a bit more modern version, but um, so yeah, everything is rendered through DirectX 12. Let's see, so we you have to create different methods, but I'll show you in a minute when I fix this bug here. Okay, I don't need to do this because what I need to offset is the starting position here. So we simply do something like maybe something like 1 times the height, for instance. Let's try doing that instead. This soon will be plus 2 times the context margin. This does look better, but I think I'm missing some text. Am I not? No, I'm not. Well, I thought I was missing some text, but it's just spacing the buttons weirdly. I'm probably incrementing the stuff here. Oh! That's a mistake, obviously. Oh no, it's not a mistake. And we subtract the object count, I think. Maybe not. Nope. Yeah, the way I translate the Y position is kind of buggy right now. I mean, the starting position is supposed to be like that. Y equals plus this stuff here. Let me just write it like that because this means that we offset by, oh, well, the header is 35 instead. Let's do a value I set here, header height. Instead, maybe just, we always know we have one header. And we set the header height to our header height. Where do I have a bug? I have a bug here. It still increments too much. And the text here will be y plus equals this. And it draws test button 2 after test button 1. Well, it draws them in alphabetical order, which I don't mind. But it seems to be adding one too many, I think. Maybe we don't want to add something when we do a header. There we go. Yeah, we simply did too many additions. All right, let me show you how the UI rendering is done. So I have this data container called a UI element. This is either a square or a single character of text. It basically contains the X position and the Y position in screen coordinates, meaning that if you imagine your screen as a 2D space, it will have an X and a Y coordinate. Also a height and a width. This could be reset to 0 here. And then something called texture coordinates. You might know something called UV coordinates in terms of graphics programming. This is basically the UV coordinates. We use that as a standard value for primitives, meaning squares. This will simply take the starting position of 0.0 and draw whatever texture is bound to the pipeline until we get to the position 1.1 or comma 1, meaning that we draw the whole texture. For a character in a font, it's way different. But anyway, we create a lot of these elements, one for each character in a line of text, or maybe just one for each square that we draw to the screen. So this gray box in the background here is actually one UI element. Each character, for instance, the T, the O, the L, and the S are each separate UI elements. So in our UI system, I have a function that builds the rendering data. It outputs in a C-style manner the vectors of the rendering data. I think this should be renamed out primitive data. And the text data. We have several buffers here that we use to output our information. Let me just rename this. There we go. Oh, I already changed it in there. Primitive, yeah. Anyway, so for a line of text, you can see here we have to build several UI elements, the data structure that I just showed you. We do this by taking the whole string of text, a reference to a font which has font-specific information, where to draw it in screen coordinates, the X and Y position, and the generalized color of the font. And then we have some screen information in terms of how many pixels are on our screen. And we lastly have our scaling factor in terms of our font. And we simply start building a list or array or whatever you'd like to call it in of UI elements. We translate the X and Y position into screen coordinates. DirectX uses a screen layout that where the X goes from -1 to 1, and the same goes for the Y. Oh no, I think it's 1 to -1 actually. So right here we have to translate into these screen coordinates after we normalized the screen position, meaning that it goes from 0 to 1 and 0 to 1, and we always reference the top left corner, and we do some padding, and then we simply look up the information for the specific character in our text here. We do some computations on how the font is supposed to be drawn on the screen, and we store that in our UI element, manipulating the screen position in relation to the font, and we simply store it. Then inside our renderer here, let me see, we have a function that is conveniently open, which is called add UI elements, that takes a vector or a list of primitives and a list of text. And we have created a buffer on the graphics card during initialization. It's done, I think it's done during the preload static data step. Maybe it's in the init function, I don't recall, but then we simply copy every primitive to the buffer, and we tell the system how many primitives are in the buffer. And then we do the same thing for the text. And then we do DirectX calls here, where this is basically the step where we draw the UI. So we get our depth stencil view, as it's called, meaning that we clear the depth buffer. In 3D space, you have a depth buffer that determines which pixels are on top of each other. So therefore, when we clear that, we allow ourselves to draw to any part of the screen. We bind our pipeline, which is a way where we set up different settings for the renderer in terms of drawing UI elements, and then we do some more setup in terms of how to handle the information. We bind our primitive texture, meaning that whenever we draw a triangle, we set the texture that we want to use for that. It's basically just a white texture. Then we draw all our primitives. Then we clear the depth buffer again because we want to overwrite whatever we just drew to the screen with our text. And we bind the text atlas, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we draw each element of text in the buffer that we copied over up in this function. So let me just show you the texture atlas, and then we're kind of done. The texture atlas is something like this. This is an actual text atlas. So for each part of the font, the system kind of like cuts out each character and renders it to the screen with the appropriate color. Well, I guess I've been programming C++ for maybe a year or two or something like that. But yeah, everything here is drawn directly to the screen, just like AmGUI. AmGUI uses DirectX as well. Um, so let me see if I release out here. Yeah, it draws. Okay, and what did we change the API call here? No, we didn't change the callback. So let's just close application and let's do is running false. So if we're lucky, everything works. Well, it's not pretty because we haven't adjusted the way the UI calculates the height and width of stuff. But yeah, now I click the close application and everything works. Let me see. That's great, man. I can always go over it again, but that's like the tour de force of that thing. I think this should be actually the last call here because we could, yeah, we could try something fun here. We could try something fun. Not the particle system. Let me see. In our renderer, when we update the information here, well, whenever we preload the static data, we set the texture, and we actually do rendering item data. Well, we do not. Oh, we set the mesh here. Yeah, I wanted to kind of like, you know, change the model, but I think that's a bit more complicated and I would probably need to rewrite parts of the rendering submission step. Um, oh, thank you. Thanks for hanging out. It was nice to have you here. Good luck with your work. We could do something like, just for fun, swapping of the texture, for instance. So inside our submission step here, we do handle our rendering items. Maybe no. Yeah, we could do something like if is the same as our rendering object, object ID. We could do some updating of the texture. Maybe we need actually an index here. And we could set the texture here to something else. Right now we will do that. Everything will be white. Yeah. No, only the dirty, quote unquote, objects will be set to white. So let's do game objects, go to texture. This is just an integer. So now we can do, just as proof of concept, we can do change texture, and we simply do game object 0. I think it's the floor, and we place that back, and the pointer here should set the texture to 0. All right. I think this will work. Yeah. Great stuff. So now we have interaction basically with our UI. There's still improvements to be made in terms of excuse me, to the visuals of the UI, but I think a drawable, draggable UI and actually connecting the UI to the game loop is really useful. It means that we can start doing different stuff with our tools here. And yeah, so far this has been a series on, or rather a part of the series where we develop a immediate mode UI from scratch, like AmGUI and so forth. I'm pretty sure that AmGUI does it in a different way, but the end result is somewhat similar, and At least it doesn't work horrible. I'm unsure how it would scale eventually, but yeah, we'll see. I think I'll definitely change the underlying memory system in terms of uh, doing more robust memory handling. Yeah, let's do a bit of scaling here. Um, Let me just improve a bit of this maybe. Context margin, border margin. We could do the context margin here. And simply copy this. Let's do it for the text up here. Yeah, there's a bit of a bug. All right. Now, well, I think this will be it, at least for this part of the streaming series. Um, Hopefully you found it helpful, inspirational, entertaining, or something entirely else. Feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Follow on Twitch. Even support the channel. Hopefully I'll see you around, and yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more game development in the coming days. I might be back later, even though, yeah, I'm not sure. All right, take care.